Hey, Bonnie, thanks so much for speaking with me today.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
It's funny we are now recording this kind of conversation about working together, and I kind of wish one of the last sessions we had when you were just lit up about kind of the results that you had achieved and the shifts you had made and the discoveries you had created for yourself while working together. You were just lit up and talking about it. And I'm like, wow, I wish I had recorded that. So, oh well, we will do this now and do the best we can to kind of recreate that.
I'm sure, I mean, I feel all those things, so I'm sure I won't have any trouble repeating it in some way, and I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm really also grateful to you because it was really you that has prompted me to relaunch the group coaching program. And we'll get to exactly why that is in a bit. But first, I want to mention that, although we were working together one on one, I did take you through some of the trainings that are a part of the Plant Empowered Coaching Program. Uh, Really, the process we went through is what our clients go through. And so, what we're talking about here today is really relevant, both to people who are interested in one on one, but also people that are interested in the group coaching program. So,
Hmm.
just want to mention that. Would you mind sharing kind of your background, your career, just your way of life? Who is
Yeah.
Bonnie? What does she do?
Sure. So, I guess it starts, well, I won't start at my childhood, but I am a person who is in long-term recovery, and that sort of shapes a lot of the things I do, the field of addiction. I have a PhD in neuroscience, and some of my best years in my career have been teaching at Rutgers University. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. I also opened a clinic for a while, treating people with heroin, alcohol, methamphetamine addiction, all kinds of different addictions. Not food addiction yet, but all kinds of different addictions. And over the course of that, I started to realize that this was a bigger, it was an issue that I couldn't just address in one clinic. I started to work with my town, counties, and implementing individual coaching programs. So peers, people who had been through addiction, could work one-on-one with people who were struggling. People who were in long-term recovery could work with people who are struggling. So now, having done all that and set up all these different coaching programs, and these are grant funded programs for people who are struggling with addiction. Now, finally, I'm kind of in private practice and treating people one on one as a clinician. So I'm a licensed alcohol, drug, and alcohol counselor, drug and alcohol counselor. And my neuroscience background helps me a lot with that because I really kind of understand, as much as anyone can understand, the processes that are going on in the brain, processes related to trauma, et cetera, that lead us to do things that are self-destructive or maladaptive. So, that's kind of my background. I am also an avid runner. I really believe that you can't take away something from your life without adding something. So running saved me from alcohol, really. And I run marathons, I run long distances, but I also run short distances. It's just something that I do for joy. Yeah, and I'm a mom. I love my companion animals. I have a couple of dogs. I've had a giant turtle that walked up to me a few years ago. Unfortunately, he passed and broke my heart, but he was just, the love of my life for a while. Um, and also, by the way, I've been vegan for, I guess, about 8 years now.
Amazing. And so, what was it that made you decide to invest in coaching with me?
It's so funny because I think a lot of people assume that when you go vegan, you're gonna automatically become, super skinny. I hear that a lot. Like that's what's gonna happen right away because you're not getting enough protein and all this other stuff. That isn't what happened with me. If anything, I gained a few pounds when I became vegan, and some of that, a lot of that was not muscle. So I just was kind of becoming bummed out with the way my body looked. with the way I felt in my body. I really felt like I was constantly paying attention and constantly sort of brought down by how I felt about my body. It really kind of, it was, the thoughts were almost intrusive. Um, and of course, at the same time, I was going through menopause, so I couldn't really figure out what was related to all of that, emotionally, what was going on. So it really just, it became not just an issue of, I was carrying around this extra anywhere between 10 and 20 pounds, depending what time of year it was. But I also was finding myself more and more preoccupied with it, to the point where I really was kind of depressed about it, and obsessed, depressed, whatever you want to say about it. I just really felt bad about it. And to me, the answer was, all right, well, I have to take off this 10 or 20 pounds. This is what I have to do. I found your website years ago. I was always interested in your work because you're one of the few people who are both, of course, you look physically fantastic, but you're also a very compassionate vegan, and that's what it's all about for you. And as I understand it, and I do know that this is the case, you didn't become vegan for your health. You're vegan because you care about animals, and I can relate to that completely. So, so many people that I spoke to about losing weight, their attitude was, you're not going to eat even just a little meat. I had people, I had a doctor, medical doctor, tell me he wouldn't work with me. I had some friends that lost considerable amount of weight with this doctor. I emailed him. I was willing to spend the resources to work with him, and his answer was, "I can't work with you. You're vegan." And this happened, in a variety of different settings. I also took a food addiction course so that I could extend my practice to help people with food addictions, a very real issue, sugar addiction, food addiction, of course, and it, not only breaks hearts, but it kills people. So I took a food addiction course, and their whole attitude was one of sort of, mm, they would deal with the fact that I was a vegan, and it was all just this kind of like almost patronizing attitude of, okay, you're going to figure out that this is not the way to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to have to take in protein. The food addiction literature all says you have to eat meat with every meal. I had, one-on-one work with other people who kind of subtly implied that I was going to need to eat meat and need to tell my clients to eat meat in order to do this. So it's all very frustrating. So a variety of different factors led me back to you. So, we started communicating. You were so generous with your time, and we started talking about all of it, and I agreed to work with you. And my thought at the beginning of it was, all right, I'm going to lose this weight. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to maybe look just a little bit more like Ella and a little bit less like my middle-aged self. That was my feeling on it. So that's not exactly what happened.
Right, right. So let's kind of go through the process, or really maybe what surprised you about the process, and what were your immediate reactions as you started going through the trainings? What did you discover?
So immediately early on, I started going through the trainings. I was committed to working with you because I believed in what you were saying. You've never, and still to this day, have never said anything that couldn't be solidly supported by evidence. And it's important to me. I'm a scientist. It's important to me that, if I'm working with somebody, they're not just spouting something that's, an old wives' tale or psychobabble or any of that. It's really important to me that everything you said could be supported by literature. And it was. I mean, you have an advanced degree, you understand the importance of critical thinking and not just saying things because you feel that way. So that was part of it. And because of that, I believed in what you were doing. I believed in what you were saying. So I really did commit to eating what, was recommended by the detox plan. And it wasn't hard to do. The food, in fact, the meal prep was really right up my alley in terms of convenience and ease. And what surprised me about the workouts was, but two things. One was how easy they were, and one was how hard they were. So, so I thought I was a pretty strong person. I can run marathons, but it was important to me, as you know, that I eventually wanted to be able to do a handstand. So I didn't realize how much upper body strength I didn't have. But then I also was so happy with how quickly it built up when I stuck to the workout. So not only did I become stronger, that my upper body physically changed, the way it looked changed, the way my clothes fit changed. So the workouts were great, and it surprised me both how much difficulty I had doing them in the first place, but then how easy it became. They were also so personalized in terms of how much time I had. You very carefully asked me, how much time do you have? Do you see yourself doing this? Do you see yourself focusing on that? You asked me about physical limitations. I have arthritis in my foot, and your workouts were very careful not to to avoid those, spring actions for my foot that I would need. So it was all tailored to me, but and easy and within my time limits. And so once, as I know, as a therapist, if you work together and come up with a plan together, it's much more likely to work. And that's what we did. So we took your knowledge, which is encyclopedic about workouts, and put them into what I said I could do. So I was able to do all the workouts, and that was great. And I even kind of enjoyed it. That's a big surprise. I've never really been into weightlifting. It's not my thing. It's always something I had to do, then something I wanted to do. Really surprised how much I enjoyed that and how much I still enjoy it. I snuck in a 20-minute weight workout before this just because I wanted to. So, yeah, that surprised me. So in the beginning, that's what surprised me.
And what you just said, you snuck in a workout because you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. Talk a
Absolutely.
little bit more about that.
I loved it. I put on like a 20-minute playlist. I knew I had 20 minutes, I've become, through this process, I've become sort of more mindful of what's going on in my body. What do I want to do? This wasn't about me being concerned about losing weight or gaining back, whatever weight I might have lost. It wasn't about that. It was about, right now I have an urge to go downstairs and do some push-ups and, some squats, and I'm going to bring a good song with me, and I'm just going to do it for as much as I can. And I just, did a bunch of the moves that I learned, some easy free weight lifts. And I felt, while I was doing it, I'm telling you, I was enjoying myself. I loved it. And then I came back up here and felt like, okay, mission accomplished. I feel good. I wanted to do it.
So as you continued on through the program,
Mm-hmm.
what did you start to discover? And, when we started out, can you tell us about your relationship with like the scale, with your weight, with your body?
Yeah. So much weight loss literature and coaching, they have variable or varying recommendations as far as the scale. But most weight loss programs will tell you, weigh yourself every day or weigh yourself weekly. So for me, again, I'm a scientist. You can't manage what you can't measure. So for me, I needed to weigh myself every day, sometimes twice a day. I really didn't even recognize the effect that this was having on me, that number was sticking in my head, and that a lot of the behavior I exhibited throughout the day, positive or negative, had to do with what number was on that scale. You even suggested in the beginning, maybe reconsider your relationship with the scale. Is it possible that you could go to weighing yourself maybe once a week? In the beginning, I wasn't willing. I just said, can we just leave that? That's off the table for now. I need to weigh myself, because otherwise, all this good I'm doing, I'm going to blow it because I'm not going to know the numbers. So in the beginning, you were like, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, weigh yourself every day. That's fine. And then a couple weeks in, you said, all right, now what do you think you could go to weighing yourself maybe once a week? You want to challenge yourself to do that? And I said, yeah, I think I can do that, because part of the reason was I already knew that I was losing weight because I was weighing myself every day. And I knew that the scale, I was getting stronger and the weight was coming off. Very early on, honestly, I lost most of the weight that I wanted to lose. So still very nervous that this was a temporary thing. I mean, everybody can change the way they eat for however many days and lose weight. So I was excited about it, but still wanted to keep going. Then you suggested I wait, a week. And I was like, oh, okay, not thrilled about it, but I'll do it. And I would put it on my calendar. And when that day was coming, I was kind of excited. And I would do it. So still, there was this emphasis on that number for sure. And I always kind of used a tape measure around my waist as well, because I wanted to lose a couple of inches off my waist for health reasons as well as vanity, whatever. So I would still measure those things, and did once or twice I would weigh myself more than once a week, but then kind of force myself to wait a week from the time that I, slipped. But so there was that. So I kind of realized over time that it wasn't bad not weighing myself every day. It actually was a little bit of a relief, especially since I was still working out and watching what I was eating, in terms of not starving myself at all, but prepping my meals and eating things that were good for me because it was working and I felt better.
So let's fast forward. So we're meeting weekly. You're going through the trainings. You're following it, and I have to say, and I've told you this. I told you this every week that this was this. Yes, I was your guide. Yes, I was your coach. But you came in and you committed fully. You came in and you did the work. And this is a constant work because we're not just dealing with what you're eating, but we're dealing with how you're uh what that relationship with food is like, right? And that's a reprogramming situation that takes constant effort, and you put in that effort. So I want to make that clear to everyone listening that this isn't a magic pill like anything else. This is something that you've got to follow the process. And that process helps you reprogram how you're moving through the world, how you view food, your body, yourself, movement, all of these things. So let's fast forward, and let's talk about now kind of what has changed in terms of some different areas here. So let's talk about what has changed about your body from a physical standpoint.
So what has changed about my body, I can't tell you in terms of numbers yet. I can't, but I can tell you that I'm down. I'm down two full sizes in pants. And I'm much, much stronger. I do yoga classes regularly, and I am beginning to be able to do not, I can't do a handstand yet. It's still a goal, but I can push myself up. I can push myself back. I don't have any trouble with crow or some of the more difficult upper body poses. So it completely shifted my ability in terms of upper body strength. My arms look better for sure. Everything looks better. My butt has a little more, a little more muscular, let's say. Yeah, a little fuller, right? Which, in a good way, it's stronger. And physically, I have so much more energy. I just can't tell you. We talked a lot about this like 4 o'clock p.m. issue that I had, where I would come home and just be exhausted. I could sleep or cry, but mostly I would eat and just eat whatever was in front of me and just feel awful about it. So we identified that and, talked about strategies for that. But so much of it was about, how I felt about my body and discouraged and physically exhausted. I feel so much stronger now. Sometimes I worry because I used to need 7 or 8 hours of sleep for sure and still be exhausted at 4. Now there are times when I'm busy or I'm feeling really good and I'm doing things and I get 6 hours of sleep. It happens. I know it's not ideal, but it happens. And I'm fine. I still feel, through the day, I still feel fine. I don't have that need. I haven't needed to take a nap at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I don't know how long. And I still feel good up until it's time for me to go to bed. So the changes physically the way I look. A lot of people have told me that I look great. I mean, in terms of, physically stronger and thinner. People have asked me if I've lost weight. So there are definitely noticeable body changes.
What's interesting to me, Bunny, when you came to me, like first and foremost on your mind was I want to lose these 10, 15 pounds, whatever.
Right.
Like that was it. Like you would be totally happy as long as you lost those 10 or 15 pounds. And when we are just talking here, and it's because you haven't weighed yourself because you don't need to, and we'll get to that. But you like breezed by this, oh, I'm down two sizes. And then you went on to talk about all the other things that have changed about your body that you feel really great about and really proud about and excited about. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting to me that when you came, like all those other things were just, whatever. And mm-hmm. I just want to lose this weight. And now you're like, oh yeah, I lost weight. And here's,
yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
So what about your relationship with your body
Mhm. Yeah.
and the scale I think goes along with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big story. That's the thing that really I did not expect. I mean, because you hear people talk about, you have to love yourself, you have to be kind to yourself. And I agree, that's so true. I'm a therapist. Of course, I agree that, you have to be kind in the way you speak to yourself. But that's not just language. That's a genuine feeling. It's a paradigm shift. You really have to kind of respect yourself and learn, all the amazing, beautiful things you can do and be impressed with yourself, right? And I was missing that. I was doing fine. I was, yeah, I have a doctorate. I'm taking, I'm helping other people in my work. Yeah, that's all good. But I'm eating too much. I'm tired all the time. Sometimes I'm crabby. There was a lot of self-criticism and maybe a little bit of self-loathing even. I mean, I wouldn't, I think maybe because of all the time I've spent in addiction training, I wouldn't go far as to say I was unkind to myself or mean, um, but maybe a little. Um, and going through this process, a lot of the workbook exercises, but also talking to you, the workbook exercises and the videos are incredible. I mean, they really kind of pinpoint exactly the kind of language that I think a lot of us use when we're talking to ourselves, even if we're not saying terrible things to ourselves, just the idea that we're focusing in such a harsh way on these little negative things that we think. And the exercises were really helpful, like really just, figuring out like how would you talk to a friend about this, or what are the positives about you, and how do they compare to these things that you're, all different kinds of really really great exercises. But that's the paradigm shift. I mean, now I feel like, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but now I feel like um, I'm 56 years old and I'm working on a handstand, and I'm probably going to get it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to do a pull up. Um, I can do a lot more push-ups than maybe your average person or average woman. I don't know, but I can definitely do more than I could do, when I was 30. So I mean, that's pretty great, and I'm impressed with that, and I feel comfortable and confident about that. Um, so there's just so much more positive attitude about the things I can do. I went on vacation with my son and went for a run with him, and for a while, of course, because just because of my age, I figured, and because of the extra weight I was carrying around, I was a runner, but it almost felt like I was a runner in name only. Like I ran because I always had run, and it was good for my health. Um, but my son, who's, a young, healthy 27-year-old, told me I kicked his ass when I when I went running. I didn't even realize it. I was hardly feeling it. And I was just kind of running with him. We were running along the beach, and we're just, I'm chatting away and he's hanging with me. And then at the end, he's like, "Oh my God, that kicked my ass." And I'm like, "Look at me." So, and that's just focusing on different things, focusing on health and attitude rather than that number, and rather than being negative, and just kind of recognizing what I am capable of, what I've really kind of always been capable of.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What about your relationship with food?
Hmm. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I mean, I've always been somebody who could eat things that were, like diet foods, whatever. That's fine. I could do that. But I tended to eat in volume. I'd scarf food down quickly and as much as I could until I was stuffed. I just love to eat, or that's what I told myself. I love to eat. It makes me feel great. But working with you, and again with the exercises that as part of the program, and also just the little tips that we talked about, some of the tips that we talked about that are just that almost seem like, well, of course, they're almost even silly, but turn out to be life changing. That force you to kind of, or I don't know, cajole you into being mindful about what you're eating, spending time sitting there and thinking about the flavor of your food, taking your time, slowing down, chewing food to a paste, I have to say it. These kinds of things really, really substantially changed how much I eat, but not whether I feel hungry or not, because you know, all along, for the last 20 years, I could have eaten half of what I ate and not felt hungry. I just never took the time to appreciate that. So now what's happening is I eat when I'm hungry. I have an idea when that's going to be, so I can plan for it to some extent. It's not more difficult, it's easier because I'm slowing down, I'm paying attention. I don't feel this need to eat as much as I possibly can in a sitting. And just because something is delicious doesn't mean I need to eat 4 pounds of it. I can just eat a little bit of it. And I can enjoy flavors that I might not have thought about before because I'm actually kind of sitting there and thinking about what went into it. And it's such a different relationship. And that's the positive part in terms of, I can eat less of it and I feel good. I totally feel satisfied. Sometimes I even feel full, although I don't enjoy that feeling anywhere near as much as I used to. But on the other hand, if I do enjoy myself and I do maybe have, a vegan dessert at Planta, there's no guilt because I understand this is a special occasion. I did this and I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna, it's my body's gonna take care of it because I'm taking care of my body. It's not a big deal. So I let it go. So I just don't think about it so much. I don't obsess over it. I don't obsess over any of it anymore because it's not necessary. The eating is easier than it was before. Food is more enjoyable than it was before. Exercise is more enjoyable than it was before. And the scale means nothing. Nothing. I mean, as you know, I have not weighed myself in months.
It's incredible.
It's wild. I'm almost like, I don't want to go to the doctor for my physical. We talked about this because I don't want to know. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm happy not knowing. I'm comfortable. I know I'm at a healthy weight because I feel great. People are telling me I look great. So I'm fine. I don't need to know the number.
It's awesome how that relationship with food in your body has also blossomed into just your entire life and even into your career. Can you just talk a little bit more about like kind of just what life is like moving forward, how it's different and what your kind of plans and aspirations are and how that has changed as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the reasons that I took a food addiction course was, that part of it was that I understood that this was a serious problem, especially, in Western countries, this idea of food addiction. I understood it on some level. I think I even felt it. So I knew that it was this wasn't just about, people liking cheeseburgers. This was about a deep-seated need to eat more and more and more and high calorie, high fat, salty foods, sugary foods. Um, and part of it was just I knew that there was a market for it. I knew there was a market for people who were struggling with food, and I would be able to get clients that way. As I took the addiction course, I began to understand, and I was really kind of sobered by, excuse the pun, but I was sobered by the idea that this disease, a food addiction, kills people. It ruins lives. It kills people, and it's slow and insidious. And it starts with kind of what I was going through, where you're just obsessing over that number on the scale, but then it continues for many people. It just continues until end stage food, addiction, where you have every kind of health problem associated with food and you still can't stop. So it started as maybe a business opportunity, but also compassion for people struggling with this addiction. As we started, got more into our work, I became so much more passionate about the idea that there can be a paradigm shift. I didn't really believe it when I started this. I understand because I've worked with it so many times and I've seen so many people recover from alcohol and drug addiction. I know there can be a paradigm shift around that. I had it myself with alcohol and I have seen it happen with heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, all of that. So I wasn't sure though, because I hadn't experienced it before, that there could be a paradigm shift with food, because we have to eat every day,
Mm.
right? It's a whole different animal, so to speak. So we, um, when as we were working together and I started to feel this shift happening in me, I became so much more excited about the idea that this can happen. I can actually help people have a similar paradigm shift to what happens with alcohol addiction and all that. Part of it comes from working on trauma a little bit. Part of it comes from working with shame and all of that, background, deep-seated issues. But part of it is just in the here and now. How are you talking to yourself? What is really, really important to you? It's not the number on your scale. That's not what's really, really important to you at all. That's just a symbol. So, yeah, I actually, took my credentials and started a food addiction group myself. Had a few people come in. We did an 8-week program of just applying addiction language and trauma language to food addiction. It was a great group. It was a great session. And again, using a lot of, not verbatim, of course, but using a lot of, what I was learning from you combined with my addiction training, I was able to help these people get on their journey of shifting their emphasis from what the number on the scale is to why are they eating? And why are they eating what they're eating? And how can we help them have a better relationship with themselves and their bodies? And it really made a difference. And now I'm excited about continuing to do that because it's really, really important, Ella. It really isn't about losing weight. The food that's out there it's not only is it killing people, killing so many Americans unnecessarily and costing millions, billions of dollars in healthcare, but of course, killing billions of animals.
Absolutely. Bonnie, you're amazing.
Ah, you're amazing.
You're amazing. And it was so great that when you came to Miami, we got to go and do a
Yes.
fun class together. We did a
Oh my
what was it, a
God.
body sculpt and then a yoga class, like hot yoga class, two at one right after the other. So
Hmm.
much fun. And you're coming
Yes.
back. So it's always a blast to meet people that I've only gotten to meet online.
Yeah, that
And
was a highlight for me, highlight of my year. It was so fun.
it was fun. We will do it again. So, anything else that maybe we didn't cover? I feel like we've been pretty thorough. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I really just want to emphasize that, I'm somebody who, because I was carrying around this extra weight and, the way I looked was so important to me and all this, I tried so many different programs. Every now, I even tried Atkins once and, I lost weight, but of course it came back on as soon as I put a piece of fruit in my mouth. But I've tried so many different things. If anyone ever asked me, or if I ever had the opportunity to say it, I would say you need to look at this, holistically. You need to look at it from the inside. And I only know one person who's doing that right now, and that's Ella. So I would just say if you're on the fence, if you're not sure what to do, don't waste another minute, don't waste another penny on another program. That's what I want to say.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
Oh, well, it's been so much fun. I appreciate you, Bonnie, and thanks everyone for listening.